Hey everybody, it's been a couple of weeks, but I'm still doing the Gygax 75 challenge along with planning my other white box game. I've done pretty much all of week 2. I'm most of the way through week 3, and we're going to take a look at what's happening in week 4. So, this should be interesting. I'm Tristan, and this is Heroes in Homebrew. So let's get at it. Okay, so if you remember my previous video about week 1, I created a world that's kind of based on if there was a giant catastrophe that wiped out a previous advanced civilization. So there's lots of those ruins left around. The elves are sort of First Nations type of people. They live in tribes and they have their own nations. The dwarves kind of stay out of the goings on of man. So I've taken that, we've extrapolated it a bit. I didn't draw the map directly into a hex grid paper. I drew it into my notebook so that way I can sort of fiddle with it and manipulate it before I put it into the hex grid. I don't think it's that big of a deal that it goes directly onto the hex grid right away. I think getting the major idea down of what I want this surrounding wilderness to be like around the starting town, if you will. So that's what I did. And also I kind of like the idea of everything just being in that notebook and then taking it out and putting it into like a DM binder or something like that after. So let's take a look at what I've written. Here we go. So this is the end of week 1 over here. Down here I have my 2d6 table. I accidentally wrote 2d12 up there, which would be insane. I have my 2d6 table, so it's 2 to 12. I tried to do a bit of a bell curve, but also I kind of like the idea of it being really random. But so we have zombies moving in a horde in the distance, black-clad riders carrying a banner, a giant spider, a werewolf / human that's chained to a tree, a troll searching for something. Don't know what, but that's up to the DM when they roll it. 1d4 wargs that look malnourished, so kind of gives the idea though maybe there's not a lot of food around here for them, or something is, taking their food source away. Giant scorpions fighting over a carcass of an elephant. A party of Knoll raiders returning from a raid. A giant 2-headed snake. I'm gonna have to create that. Some of these things I'm gonna have to create on my own, just because I don't have a source for the stats for them. An elven tribe fleeing a ruined camp, and a sandworm moving beneath the ground, basically a purple worm. So my world, if we look right here, it's largely we have some like desert to the north here with like a big chasm. This is going to be our starting city. This is the city of Asira. It's on a lake that comes from 2 rivers that join down from the mountains. And to the south here we have some jungle, plains, savanna kind of thing. So if we remember, we're supposed to create a starting town with a couple of other settlements and some points of interest for players to go explore, and somewhere to put our dungeon as well. So I have the city of Asira, the village of Shoram, which is down here, it's further down the river, the elven camp, which I called the Darak tribe, it's over here, it's a little like hut kind of thing, abandoned mine up there, so there's an entrance to a dungeon if we want, the ziggurat ruins of Zokal, which is up here. This is where the dungeon I made for week 3 that's in there. The megaliths of the shifting sands over here. And I kind of think these megaliths, they're some of the ruins left over from that advanced civilization that got ruined. Probably the ziggurat too will be like that. But the reason why I'm going to call it the megaliths of the shifting sands is that the sands themselves move so that the megaliths will rise and fall. So like some of them become more visible and then they become less visible, stuff like that. I think it's kind of a cool like imagery, if you will. We have an oasis over here, which I didn't actually number because I'm silly. And we have a dwarven mountain city called the City of Iron. Now, the mountain city is going to be carved directly into the mountain. So it's going to be another kind of, something different. It's not just a regular, like, underground, like, mine city like you would have in, like, Tolkien or something like that. But it's going to be sort of carved into the mountains, which is something like maybe something like Petra, like in the Middle East. So that's that. Now, the Temple of the Ape God, which is the Ziggurat of Zokal. We're supposed to describe the entrance to it. So, steep stairs rise out of the jungle, leading to a vine-covered archway on the upper level of the Ziggurat. I quickly mapped out the first 3 levels. So the first 2 levels of this ziggurat are actually carved, like built part of the ziggurat, and then underneath is going to be more cavernous. Themes, I'll be honest, I had a hard time thinking of what kinds of themes I want. But for the first level, it's going to be the Ape Guardians, because it's the Temple of the Ape God, so there are going to be ape guardians living there. So I have my 1d6 list for each level. The first level's got 4 armed apes, a minotaur, a living ape statues, which I think is going to be kind of cool. So you have like the kind of living statues / gargoyle kind of thing, but these are going to be giant like apes. Rat folk, zombie ape, and a giant ape. So I have the rat folk and the zombies are kind of interplaying. Like the zombies are coming up from the lower level, whereas it's kind of infested with the undead, and they're kind of taking over, trying to push and take over the first level. The apes on the first level are fighting it back, as well as fighting off the rat folk, which are also kind of infesting there. The second level, we have the zombie minotaur, the ghast, a zombie, skeleton, ghoul, mummy, all undead. Those are going to be the main wandering monsters. So it's very like if you have a cleric in the party, it's going to be very fun for him or her. And then level 3 is going to be waters. And this is, I kind of worked on this so that a lot of the rooms have these like pools of water in them, like little pools or little lakes, but also there's tunnels of water going between them. So if you see, like I have, it might be a little hard to see, but I've got like these dotted lines. Those are indicating underwater tunnels that move from place to place. So not only do you have these overland tunnels connecting these rooms, but you have the underwater tunnels. So this allows multiple points of getting from place to place, but it also allows me to introduce more sort of water-based creatures. Like I have a sea serpent in there, also a giant snake. So there's that. I like snakes, especially if I'm doing like a low fantasy sort of sword and sorcery. Like big snakes is like for me, I feel it's like a classic thing. Zombies, so the zombies are still kind of spreading out. A gray ooze, a troll, a yellow mold, and the giant snake. So I haven't gotten as far as describing each of the levels yet, but it won't be that hard. I just gotta write a quick paragraph for each of them. I have the first levels. So we have a little bit of like story there, conflict. Like players can help the rat folk take on the apes, or vice versa, or I can help both of them by pushing back the zombies in the lower levels. So it gives them a lot of options. So I think I'm going to try and continue doing that throughout the rest of them, so that it's all, there's like conflict on each level, and they each sort of interplay together. So that is basically all I have so far. Like I said, I'm kind of working on my own pace at this, because I don't have the time for doing it at the pace that's given. All right, so but the nice thing about this challenge is you can do it at your own pace. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be a strict like you're doing this for the week. I have too many things going on. I don't have the time to sit down and do that. But like doing it at my own pace, just creating this slowly is just it's a good practice, and it's a lot of fun. But again, I can't be spending hours on this every day. Especially the dungeons is a lot of work. So for the next week or the next portion of this that I'm going to be doing, we are going to be working on the town features. So that means that I'll be creating the town of Asira or parts of it. So let's look at what we have to do. We have tasks to find or sketch a city map. It's easy to do. There's lots of city maps online that you can use one that exists. You can find free fantasy city maps online all over the place. People will post them on Facebook and different groups, stuff like that. There's software that you can use to help make them, or you can just draw it yourself. It's not too complicated, so getting the town map itself shouldn't be too hard. Look at the equipment list for your game. Name several shops where various kinds of items can be bought. A smith for arms and armor, stable mounts, etc. You may want to find a fantasy name generator or list at this point. You can use fantasynamegenerator.com. It works really well. When in doubt, name a place after a location's owner. Example, Thames Leather Goods. That works too if you have the NPC for it. Even if you don't have the NPC, you name the NPC the owner of that place and name the store after him. There's also, I don't have them pulled up right now, but there's lots of good resources on DriveThruRPG for this, for creating your town. There's a fantasy town generator. It's just a lot of random tables, and you roll on it, and you can come up with what your town looks like. The D30 books, I think it's the D30 DM Companion, maybe. They have town generator in there. Next, we have locate, describe at least 5 of the following in a short sentence. A political faction and its rival. That's always good because then you can have things happening in between sessions that you can bring back to the next session and be like, hey, by the way, well, while we were gone, this happened. A place where characters could lose all their money. That's what you want. A place where people gather to hear news or speak their minds, which would generally be like a excuse me, like a city center, a town hall, something like that. A secretive guild hall and its reputation, so that could be linked to one of the factions that you create. A great place to obtain a hot meal and clean bed, or a crappy meal and a flea infested palate. Your tavern, your typical fantasy tavern. A religious center and the gods to which it is devoted. So this assumes that you have your pantheon already created. Generally, for me, in my games, when I create a world, pantheon is one of the last things I even work on. And I don't put that much effort into it, I'll be honest. But it's easy enough. You say, okay, well, maybe there's a couple of temples here, and we're going to name them these gods. Depending on what you want, you can have like maybe 5 gods that each cover a certain major aspect of life, and it's fine. It works. You have a god of life, a god of death, a god of the sea, stuff like that. Or look at pantheons of the past, like ancient Rome, ancient Greece, things like that, and just steal from them. A feature unique to this town. View of a natural wonder, a strange clock, a healing spring. That's always cool. It doesn't even have to come into play in the story, but it's fun to have something like that that makes the town stand out. It makes the players say, okay, I remember that town, we gotta go back there. Although, when you're playing a old school style game like this, they're going to spend a lot of time in that one town. Create at least 5 NPCs, each with a DNA. D is for distinguishing trait or feature. N is for what they need most. A is their agenda, secret or otherwise. What do they hope to do in the following days, weeks, months, and or even years? Alternatively, A could also stand for asset that they have that the players need. And this is an interesting way of doing your NPCs. Like a lot of the time, I just say, okay, I need this NPC, and this is what he looks like, and that's that. I don't spend, unless they're going to be important, I don't spend a lot of time on them. But this is a good way of just getting the bare basics down and helps you like flesh them out a bit. Because the distinguishing things, like the distinguishing features and stuff, is always what stands out to the players the most. For extra credit, we can create 4 to 3 hirelings or specialists. It's easy enough. You can go through I've been using White Box a lot. You can go through the hirelings and say, okay, this guy's a ship captain, this is a unskilled whatever, this guy's a fighter. And pretty simple. Generate 7 to 9 rumors that are going around the town. These are a lot of fun to come up with. If you're having a hard time, there's a lot of resources again on Drive-Thru-RPG, so you can just steal from those. But it's fun to come up with your own rumors. And remember too, these rumors don't have to be true. They could be false rumors, because rumors are sometimes just not true. They could be false and send the players off on a wild goose chase that results in nothing, really. And describe stuff. Take the time to write a few sentences about each structure. Okay, maybe not each structure. That might be a bit much, but the major structures, I would say. So that's it. I'm going to keep working on this. Continue, finish my week 3 and continue on to week 4. So far it's been a lot of fun, even if I haven't been able to maintain the pace of one of these things every week, but it's a good go. If you've been doing this, I'd love to see what you guys have been doing. So see for me at your table.